Buena Fortuna, the goddess who never promised mercy. Fortuna was not born as a benevolent figure. The earliest Roman records do not describe her as kind, fair, or protective. They describe her as necessary. By the 6th century BCE, a shrine stood near the Tiber River, older than Rome's republic, older than its laws. The name attached to that shrine was Fortuna. Later, she would be called Buena Fortuna, good fortune, but the title came after fear, not before it. Roman historians did not ask whether she was good. They asked only whether she had noticed them. Fortuna appears in Roman sources as a force that moves without explanation. She is depicted holding a cornucopia, abundance, but also a rudder, implying direction without consent. In some depictions, she stands on a wheel. In others, the wheel crushes beneath her feet. Cicero writes of her casually, almost dismissively, as if acknowledging her power too directly might provoke her. Pliny the Elder refers to Fortuna as the most invoked and most cursed name in Rome. This contradiction is consistent across records. Fortuna was thanked for survival and blamed for ruin, never questioned, never confronted. Buena Fortuna does not appear in Rome's earliest period. The qualifier good emerges later when Romans attempt to separate fortune into categories: Fortuna redux, Fortuna primigenia, Fortuna virilis. These were not separate goddesses. They were attempts to negotiate with uncertainty. Buena Fortuna was not worshipped as a guarantee. She was worshipped as a hopeful outcome. In household shrines, offerings were made quietly. No grand vows, no demands. The language used was careful, conditional. If fortune could hear, it could also turn away. Roman generals credited Fortuna after victories. They did not credit her before battle. This is consistent across military inscriptions. Triumphs are attributed to Fortuna after success, never before. She was acknowledged only once outcomes were irreversible. The implication is clear. Fortuna was not loyal. She arrived after the fact. Emperors built temples to her during periods of instability, not during peace. When Augustus consolidated power, Fortuna's imagery surged: coins, statues, dedications. But the empire still collapsed generations later. Fortuna did not intervene. She did not warn. The records stop there. Fortuna has no mythology of origin, no birth story, no lineage that explains her behavior. This absence is notable. Roman gods usually have narrative frameworks. Fortuna does not. She exists as a condition, not a character. Scholars note this as intentional. A god without origin cannot be reasoned with. A god without motive cannot be predicted. Buena Fortuna, in this sense, is not a promise of good outcomes. She is the moment when outcomes briefly align and then move on. Christian Rome did not erase Fortuna. She was absorbed, renamed, reinterpreted. Medieval writers replaced her with Providence, but the wheel remained. Renaissance art restored her image openly, acknowledging what theology could not eliminate. Chance did not disappear. Only the language around it changed. Buena Fortuna survives because uncertainty survives. No source records Fortuna intervening to save the innocent. No inscription credits her for justice. She is never described as moral, only present. The Romans did not ask Fortuna to be kind. They asked her not to notice them too closely. And the records end without resolution because fortune never explains itself.